All right, we are back again. Back again. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another live stream. Today we are going to talk about Bitcoin. We are going to talk about the cryptocurrency market. Buckle up. That is the title of this live stream. It is about to get nasty. Buckle up. It's about to get nasty. That's the title of today's live stream. And I'm going to explain to you exactly why. I am going to explain to you exactly why it is about to get nasty. We'll talk about potential price targets. We'll talk about the current price action, what it means for the price of Bitcoin. We'll talk about, this major support the Bitcoin has broken. We'll talk about what Bitcoin just did with $91,000. And we'll talk about my expectation of how the price of Bitcoin, of how Bitcoin is going to perform moving forward. So this is going to be, one of my most important live streams. And that is why when you look at the title, all right, you look at the title of this live stream, it is about to get nasty. It is about to get nasty. Look, I don't care about, your feelings on the market. I don't care about your opinion on this market. Look at the chart. Look at the freaking chart. If you think this is bullish, by all means, be a buyer. If you think this is bearish, you only should be doing two things. Either you stay out of the market or you short the market. So anyways, let's talk about this. I see your comments. DMC skyrocketing. What is DMC? Let me see. DMC. Is that a token? DMC. Oh, wow. This is crazy. Wow. Yeah, this is not a time to jump in, though. This is crazy right here, though. Wow. The perfect time to get in was back here. So after breaking this level right here, this was the entry. Should have got in right here around 007 or even right up here. That was the time to get in. Right now, yeah, you don't want to do anything right now, or maybe wait for some sort of a pull. Well, looks like we're having a pullback. Wait for some sort of a pullback right here. So I can tell you, if we break above this high right here, this could be your entry. Stop loss below this, or just kind of wait and see how this plays out. I mean, I don't know. I guess we can get back to this token later on. But anyways, welcome back to the channel. I hope you guys are having a fantastic weekend. Yo, I don't know how fantastic this is. We're getting hit by a snowstorm. I think we are getting hit by a snowstorm. Hold on, let me see. Just give me a second, guys. Getting hit by a snowstorm. But anyways, let me get back to the charts. Here we are. So, yeah, welcome back to the channel, guys. If this is your first time right here, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. If you're watching the stream, hit the like button. And let's analyze this market. Let me see how many people we have here. How many do we have? Coin, bare bottom around $50, $70. Yeah, probably, right? Probably. We'll talk about Coinbase, but let me talk about Bitcoin, man. Let me talk about Bitcoin. But once again, if you are here for the first time, even if it's not your first time, please hit that subscribe button, guys. I think we just hit 229. We are trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. So, if you guys can kindly hit that subscribe button, I will, greatly appreciate. So, let's talk about Bitcoin because it's about to get nasty. And if you're not prepared, if you don't have a plan, you are going to be in a place where, hold on, man, what am I looking for? All right, Chaz, give me a second, man. I do apologize. All right, anyway, there we go. We should be good now. So, anyways, yeah, so welcome back. Hit the subscribe, hit the like. Let's talk about Bitcoin. It is about to get nasty. And let me explain to you why. But it is about to get nasty over the next couple of weeks. So, Bitcoin has been consolidating in this range. All right. To me, this is a bear flag. All right. This is a flag right here. And this is your pole right here. So, this is a bear flag. I believe recently, we had a breakdown right here. So if you put a trend line right here, this was a breakdown, and I talked about this. And then we had a rally. We had this rally right here. If you watch this stream right here, I gave you targets. What I said to you guys was that don't get carried away by the price of Bitcoin going up in the short term. When you go to the lower time and you look at the 4 hour, the structure is already bearish. So this is not a bullish bounce. And the target that I gave you was the 21 moving average or the 50 moving average. And I highlighted right here, guys. All right. You can see I was on the 4 hour and I was looking at this range. All right. I was looking at between $91,000 to $93,000. So to me, that is where Bitcoin was most likely going to top. And that's exactly what we did. Right? This stuff doesn't have to be complicated. So this is the top. And right now, this is very bad. All right. Let me show you what's bad and why this is about to get nasty. So after putting in a top, we now have a lower low. All right. So if you are on this 4 hour time frame, we now have a very clear downtrend. This is a lower high. This is a lower high right here. This is a lower low. This is a lower low right here. And this right here, guys, is a lower low. Right? So this is what a downtrend looks like. All right. You have very consistent lower lows and lower highs. And let me try to explain to you why. Not trying to actually. Let me explain to you why this is about to get nasty right now. On the 4 hour, we just closed below $87,000, which is a major, major problem. And I'm looking at the daily. Yo, chat, if we close the daily below this $86,000, it is lights out. Look, I think it's already lights out. Like, I think from here on, we going way, way lower. Like my target right now, it's not even looking at, like I'm not even interested in these lows right here. Yo, I think we're going straight down to $80,000. And then at 80,000, we will talk about where we go from there. But the reason I think, like, I don't think this right here, this range that may act as a support, I don't think we're going to get anything out of this. Like, I don't think this is going to hold the price up. And the reason is because, to me, I'm looking at this on the daily. This is a lower high right here. And to me, I think this is the next leg down. And, when I think about targets, I'm looking at 80,000, guys. Like, I don't think we stop, you know, at 84,000. I don't think we stop at 85,000. No, I think we're going down to 80. All right, $80,000 is my target, and I think we won't go back above $90,000. Like, that is my opinion on this market right now. Like, I don't think BTC gets above $91,000. 91, not 90, 91,000, because this is a lower high right here. So look, why do I think this? Look, the structure is very important. All right, to me, this is a breakdown of this bear flag. Like, this is exactly what is happening right now. You have a breakdown of the bear flag. And what I think is about to happen right here is exactly what we experienced right here, guys, on these 4 hours. So basically, BTC is right here, all right? If we use the 4 hours as an example, it is the equivalent of this. Notice how, we started breaking down, and then we had a death cross where the 21 crossed below the 50, and then we had this rally right here, and then we put in a lower high, and that was the beginning of this major dump. So when I go back to the daily, to me, this is exactly what is playing out, all right? We have a breakdown, we have a rally, and then we're taking out, our recent support. So where do we go from here? $80,000. And then we also have the death cross. We have the blue line going below the green line. Now, these moving averages are very good indicator when it comes to, momentum. I think this is a momentum indicator. And let me try to explain to you guys. Let me explain it to you why and how you should read this. See, when you have EMAs like this, the bigger the gap, the bigger the momentum, or the stronger the momentum. So because these EMAs are right now negative or bearish, and because of the gap, between them, to me, this is a sign that the bears are extremely strong right now, and I don't see a sign of slowing down. A good example is, if you come back right here, guys, and you look at the performance of Bitcoin after we had a death cross and after, the two EMAs started getting away from each other, you can clearly see the increase in momentum. It is also, reflected in the performance of, BTC. You see the price is going down more dramatically. So I'm looking at this, and I think this is the beginning of a much bigger move. And also, when you look at the MACD indicator, the momentum indicator, right here, the histogram, this is red right here, guys. Another reason to be bearish on BTC, at least on the daily. When you look at the RSI has lost the 50 line. Right now you have the RSI in a bearish territory. Right? There is not a single indicator that's bullish BTC right now on the daily. In the short, in the short term. You go back to the 4 hour, yes, RSI is oversold. But oversold, it's not an indication the price is about to reverse the trend. You go to the MACD, the histogram indicator, momentum indicator, bearish again. I'm looking at BTC. I'm looking at the daily. To me, this is the beginning of a nasty move. Not only are we going to $80,000, we are going much, much lower. And you guys, look, I've been spot on with my BTC price analysis. Like, I have been spot on since 98. Yo, chat, I told you guys that once we lose $98,000, it is lights out. We are officially in a bear market. And I know, some of you guys, and I don't mean you specifically, look, people are trying to fight the trend. But it's not helpful. Just, look at the market identify the trend. If you think the market is bullish, perfectly fine. But in my opinion, I don't see a reason to be bullish BTC. I do not see a reason to be bullish Bitcoin. And let me show you guys some examples. I have been comparing this entire, bear flag to the one we had back in 2022. And let me show you, something that's also very similar right now. You see back right here, guys, after we topped around $48,000, we had this pullback right here. And then we had a breakdown. All right, this was the breakdown right here. And then we had a rally. This was the rally right here. And then we had a rally right here. We had a def cross. You see the 21 cross below the 50. We retested the 21 and the 50. We got rejected. All right. Of course, price, managed to get above, but it's not about, so it's always about where the day closes. So like if I'm looking at today, and I want to be careful because I'm waiting for a daily close. But anyways, doesn't matter. Ended up with a daily close right here, which meant we were definitely rejected. And then we had this pullback, and then we took out the lows. Let me show you the lows that we took out. We took out these lows right here. I can go like this, or I can go like this, all right? I don't know which one you like. Anyways, we took out the lows. Once we took out the lows, I want you to take a look at the performance. I mean, the acceleration to the downside was absolutely amazing. And this is exactly why I'm saying to you that it is about to get nasty. What am I looking for? I'm looking for something. I'm looking for this right here. So once we took out the lows right here, and then after the rally that was rejected, I want you guys to take a look at the performance of Bitcoin right here, guys. I mean, look at this dump right here. We go from 39, or let's just say 40,000, down to $25,000. Yo, my opinion is we are about to see exactly the same thing. You may not believe it right now, but give it some time. So I think not only are we looking at, coming down to retest 80,000, chat, if you ask me, we're looking at $74,000. Like, I think we're having a move that looks like this. I think this is exactly what we're having. And it wouldn't surprise me. Let me be honest. It wouldn't surprise me if we actually take out 74,000 and we drop all the way down to around $66,000. I believe, man, this is what we have coming. Look, this is up almost a 30% drop. Let's just go with a 25. I think we have a 25% crash coming in the price of Bitcoin. And of course, this is going to destroy the altcoin market. And this is why, look, when you see my updates, I don't take joy in being bearish on the market. But someone's got to do it. Altcoins crash is about to worsen. Like, it's not because I want to do it. It's just that I'm looking at BTC and I'm thinking to myself, if we lose, all right, I mean, we already lost it basically. But you lose these levels right here, or once the flag is completed, you're looking at low 70,000. You're looking at higher $60,000 range when it comes to Bitcoin. But when it comes to the altcoin market, can you imagine a 25% drop in the price of Bitcoin? That's a 50% drop in the price of altcoins. Buckle up. It's about to get nasty. Now let's talk about how long this may take, because nobody knows, but let's talk about how long this might take. So if we go back to, the last bear market, if we think this is what's coming, and we are happy with the prediction that we finally have a breakdown. So we had a breakdown around the 26th of April. So from the 26th of April until we got to the absolute bottom, That was until May 2022. All right, May 2022. So that's about 16 bars. All right. Do I think, you're looking at 16 days? I think that's too soon. All right, 16 days, probably too soon. But I am going to say that if you can give it a couple months, because I want to give myself some time, and I don't want you guys to come back, 2 weeks from now and say, hey, you were predicting 60,000 in 2 weeks. No, I don't want to do that. Just give it some time, all right? Give it a couple months, guys. All right. I believe a couple months from now, the price of Bitcoin will be in the $60,000 range. And of course, when it comes to the altcoin market, BTC in the $60,000 range, that is a disaster. Like, honestly, these altcoins that you're looking at right now, we'll talk about them. Just give me a few minutes. But anyways, I don't know if you see what I see, but there's nothing. Look, there is nothing that excites me about this chart right here. There is nothing encouraging. I don't care how people try to spin it. This is not looking good. Let's talk about the weekly, and let's talk about something that you need to keep your eyes on. First and foremost, we are about to have a weekly dev cross. Chad, we talked about this. I told you that over the next couple of weeks, the 21 weekly moving average is going to cross below the 50. Now, remember, sometimes, these EMAs, they can give you a fake out. But I want to make sure that I'm very clear. The weekly doesn't normally give too many fake outs. It may give you one, but it won't give you two. It won't give you three. And when it comes to a dev cross, not many there's not many of them that are fake outs. The last time we had a dev cross on the weekly, that was a real dev cross, guys. That was around 43,000. And then you go back to, the one that was a fake out. But this one is very different because the market was already in an uptrend. Right? And the market was coming out of, a long-term bear market. All right. So, to go from a long-term bear market and then a couple months later and go back into another long-term bear market doesn't really make any sense. And also, this was COVID time. But I'm looking at this and I absolutely don't like it. And again, you're looking at this in the lens of, this is a momentum indicator. So the momentum is shifting from, bulls to bears. So I'm not looking at this in terms of, you should be a buyer. No, I'm looking at this in terms of, the bulls are giving up control of this market and the bears are, taking over. So what that means is, unless I'm shorting moving forward, I'm most likely to stay on the sideline and see how this all plays out. All right. And let's talk about something else. Now, in terms of levels, I got to be very honest with you. Right now, anything between, now this is a weekly time frame, more specifically, anything between 80,000 and 97, or let's just call it $98,000, doesn't really mean anything. All right. Anything in here, guys, on the weekly time frame doesn't really mean anything because it doesn't give us where this market is heading. If Bitcoin can break above $98,000, I am back to being bullish. If Bitcoin breaks below $80,000, you want to be bearish right here. All right. So here you want to be bearish. Here you want to be bullish. All right. I can't spell. So between $80,000 and $90,000, stick with short-term price prediction. Once you go below 80,000, this becomes confirmed a weekly lower high, and the next leg down could potentially give you, in terms of how big the leg down could be, you could potentially be looking at a move that looks like this. That's a 35% drop. So if you take this and you go from the top all the way down to the bottom, You go from here. It gives you about $53,000 Bitcoin right there, guys. But that's once the price goes below 80,000. And I actually don't think, to be very honest with you guys, I don't think we're gonna hold 90. We're gonna hold $74,000. I think we're most likely to lose this. Like, I'm talking about the first retest. On the lower time, you might get a bounce. But on the weekly, I think we're going to slice through 74,000. And you see the price of BTC, somewhere around here. Now, we might get some reaction around the 200 weekly moving average. Right now, the 200 weekly is around 68,000. So maybe by the time we get to the 200 weekly, it could be around, low $70,000 range. But BTC is not looking good. Yeah, this is it's not looking good at all, chat. Like, there's nothing to like about this chart. You got to embrace the bear market. You got to embrace it. And everything that comes with it, of course. Oh la 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 la. So yeah, I mean, look, 86,000. Bad, bad, bad. Let me see. What do we have? Coinbase, 50, $70,000 lows. Probably. Let's see Coinbase. So Coinbase, yeah. Look, I'm looking at this. The only way for me to flip bullish, like, we gotta get above 264. Then I can, think about, excuse me, probably coming back into the $400 range. But anyways, looking at the monthly, if this pullback continues, I'm looking at $140. That's a major, major key support. If you lose $140, Coinbase, you could be looking at, like, do we come back to $47, $50? Probably. But you could be looking at, I think Coinbase around $70 becomes very interesting. Yeah, $70. That's a good point. $50, $70. That, I wouldn't rule that out. Yeah, but this is just, oh my gosh, man. We gotta start an uptrend if this market is to turn bullish. So let's talk about altcoins, because holy smoke, man. These altcoins, Chad, you want to die in this market? All right, so recently, I gave you guys a trade. I gave you a Zcash trade. I gave you the entry. I think the entry was, somewhere around here, somewhere around 360. I told you guys, jump into a trade and put your stop loss just right above. I think I said 440, or the last time I think I had some EMAs, and I probably said put your stop loss around above. I think maybe I said the 21 or something. But anyways, look, Zcash, this is a breakdown. Like, this daily is not looking good. So if I'm looking at Zcash right now, my target will be $300. I think we're gonna lose $300. I'm looking at this 185. Honestly, this entire range, 185 to like 228. If you go to the weekly, that is our target. We are losing the 200 weekly moving average. And I told you guys, when you go to the weekly, guys, there's nothing to like about Zcash right now. So you look at the, the MACD histogram. Once again, look, this is bearish, extremely bearish right here. I bet you we're about to lose the 50 line, in terms of the RSI. This move right here was nothing but a lower high, a weekly lower high. So once you lose, $300, that gives you a confirmation of a downtrend on the weekly, because this gives you a lower, this gives you a lower here, this gives you a lower high, and losing below $300, that give you a lower low, and this is a classic downtrend, guys, and you're more likely to see a continuation of that. So this is not good. Like this is there isn't. There's only a handful of us who are looking at this market and are literally telling you, guys, get away from this thing, man. Do not try to dollar cost average in any of this stuff, especially if you look. If you're trading and you're short term trading, you're in and out the market on a daily basis. That is a completely different strategy. But if you're thinking about swing trading, where you're holding on to an investment for about 3, 6, 12 months, this is not the environment. Like, absolutely not. And in terms of Zcash, I'll give you guys another trade. This is a trade right here. I think the low is in, the high is in, 380 something. To me, this is an entry. This is an entry. I might even take a trade and just to, talk about a short trade. Look, this is an entry to me. Your stop loss, you want to make sure it's above 388, because, that is your lower high. And if I'm looking at this, my target becomes, to be honest with you guys, like I'm looking at 230. That's a 30% profits. Or I'm looking at this 184. That's a 40% profits. Now, the risk right here is about 21%. Okay, that's a little bit too high, but that's okay. We can reduce the risk. If you go to the 4-hour, I am confident in moving the risk like this, like putting my stop loss just right below 362, just right above this, 21 EMA, or I can just extend it just a little bit, risk about 14%, just put it right above, this 374 level. To me, this is a very good trade. You're looking at 40% profits, and the risk is about 14%. Like, this is a really, really good trade. So yeah, man. Be careful out there. All right, be careful out there. It's not too many of us who are ringing the alarm that the market that you think is bullish is just not. All right, I'm gonna give you guys an update on XMR, because there's been a bigger pullback, and the last time I analyzed it, of course, I was very bullish on the token. The only token that is still in an uptrend, despite current price action. Subscribe to the channel, guys. Make sure you're hitting the like button. Hopefully you appreciate this, and you can see, we have been spot on. Like, we have analyzed Bitcoin to the T, throughout this entire downtrend, throughout this entire pump. Remember, the bigger picture is what's important. If the daily is bullish but the daily is bearish, we go with the week. If the daily is bullish but the weekly is bearish, we go with the weekly. If the weekly is bullish but the monthly is bearish, we go with the monthly. Right? Yes, we can talk about how bullish the market is in the short term, but the bigger picture is the most important one. The bigger picture is the most important one. And speaking of, it is over. Look right here, guys. I told you when the price got to, the 21 weekly, around 95,000. I say, guys, get the hell out of here. Right, 50% crash is coming. Literally, guys. Look. I gave you the blueprint. Right. I don't care how you analyze this market. I don't care what your feelings are in regards to this market. I don't care what you think about my content. I don't care what you think about Bitcoin. Is Bitcoin a great asset? Absolutely yes. But from a price action perspective, if you are interested in a market that is trending up, if you are interested in longing this market for the next several months, this is not the market. Or this is not the environment. Absolutely not, guys. If you are interested in altcoins and you want to do something, unless you're shorting this market, these altcoins, you're going to get your head blown out. All right. I saw some liquidations. I think like 1 point something billion dollars liquidated, in the last, 10, 24 hours, something like that. If I go to X, and you look at the liquidations, I mean, it's mind blowing, guys. Like, it is mind blowing. There's only a few of us. There you go, right here. $130 million liquidated. This is, 4 hours ago. Right now, you're talking about billions because people are just, I mean, I don't know, man. Chat, nobody's perfect. All right. I'm not saying I'm going to be right all the time, but I'm just following the trend, man. Forget about, like, if I'm looking at Zcash, forget about what Zcash, at 328. Like, forget about that. What's important is when you look at this right here, what do you see? All right. Are we trending up? Trending up will look like this. Or are we trending down? And if we're trending down, why are you bullish? Why are you dollar cost averaging? Well, I'm not saying any of you guys is dollar cost averaging. Right? I'm just trying to help you understand, this market from a TA perspective. If the bottom comes in, we will do something. For me to be bullish on Zcash, price will have to get above. Right now, price will have to get above this 388. I will need a pullback that gives me a higher low. I will need the price to break above here, and I will need to see a continuation of that. Of course, if we are getting this, I'm already a buyer either somewhere around here or somewhere around here. This is where my entry is. And I don't care if I have missed the first 30% move or the first 50% move. What I care about is, am I in something that is more likely to continue up? That's the only thing I care about. Once again, a great reminder to smash the like button, subscribe if you haven't already. And, I want to keep this going because, we got a market to talk about. Solana and the entire altcoin market are cooked. So, looking at Solana, I gave you my target already. Solana is heading all the way down below $100. Like it or not, I'm looking at this weekly right here. We have seen the high of this weekly bounce. It wasn't the strongest, but I'm not surprised. When I look at these moving averages, this tells me that the bears are very, very strong. And price is more likely to continue down. If we close this weekly candle, remember, today we're about to have a weekly close. If Solana closes below $116, which honestly is doable because we have a couple more hours left until we get a weekly close, that is going to be a major, major confirmation. You are more likely to see the price of Solana move its way down to around $95. That is your next support. And you're looking at 78, so 78, excuse me. So 95 to 78, to me, this is the range that I am very much interested in. I think you're looking at Solana coming here. Now, we may actually go way, way lower, before we get some sort of a bounce. And it wouldn't surprise me if the price of Solana comes all the way down into the $60 range. Like if we get a real big drop, before we get some sort of a bounce on this weekly. Now, I do want to be very respectful in these levels right here. So if I'm looking at this, if I'm looking at 90, if I'm looking at 70 something, I do want to make sure that I'm not overlooking those levels. And that is why, from 75 to 90, that will be my first target. But this is not looking good. When you go to the daily, I told you guys we had a breakdown. This was a breakdown right here. I gave you an update somewhere around here. And I told you, don't do anything. This is now looking great. So I'm looking at Solana right now, man. And I mean, what can you do, right? Let's talk about shorting opportunities. So I actually like this from, trading outlook. Like I think, an entry even around here, yes, we are some support. But I think an entry somewhere around here, write it all the way down. Risk wise, you can probably risk, a little bit. If this is the entry, the risk, just right above. If you want to go wider, you can go right above what? It's right above 133. That gives you a 12% loss. In terms of targets, we can go with that 75 target, $75 right there. That's a 30% profits. All right. If we want to, risk a little less, we can, always come down. But yeah, man, I think that, just right above 130, I think that would be the right place. But this is not looking great. And I don't want you guys to blame anyone. Like, don't blame the president. Don't blame the tariffs. Don't blame anything, guys, because price action has been telling us that this is a bearish market. We talked about Ethereum. All of this looks doing exactly what I thought they were going to do. Now, I know that may sound cliche. You may be thinking, what the hell are you talking about? Guys, we talked about this, like, honestly. We have spent a lot of time, talking about, the market, it's not looking good. Give it a couple more days. We will see a breakdown. And look at Ethereum. So in terms of targets, I'm looking at $2,100. To me, that would be my first target. All right. I'm going to be respectful. I won't go anywhere below 21, even though I think we're going way, way lower. I'm just going to stay with $2,100 right now. But this is not good. And I told you guys multiple times, price has spent so many times below the 200 moving average. No, I don't like it. I absolutely don't like it. And of course, you see why I don't like price being below the 21 EMA, the 200 EMA. So Ethereum, I mean, look, we are cooked. And you look at XRP. What I tell you guys about XRP? XRP weekly or daily at least, like, this is your last support line, man. Once you lose this, I mean, holy smoke, man. You're looking at XRP 160 something. You lose 160, you're looking at 120 something. I mean, this is nuts. So it's not looking pretty. Absolutely not. And then you got XLM. Look at XLM. You go to the weekly. I mean, guys, oh my gosh, man. This is a bad looking market. At some point, we are going to make a comeback. At some point, the market is going to be bullish again. But not right now. Just not right now. Not when this is what the market looks like. Absolutely not. Chat, how we doing? All right. Look, I just spent about, 45 minutes. Looks like there's nothing left to talk about. So because of that, I'm just going to say, appreciate you guys. Hopefully you subscribed. Hopefully you smashed a like. And, we'll do this again next time. All right, guys, take care.